All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. This is the pre-proposal conference for RFP number SSBCI-Accounting-Technical Assistance. This is our pre-proposal conference for Friday, June 28th, and we're going to kind of go over some of the background information for the RFP, including available funds and expectations, as well as just a little bit of information about the broader program. And we'll kind of go through a few dates and timelines. My name is Shawnee Harvey. I lead the JEDI program here at the Economic Development Department, which is the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion program. And this is our second time going out to RFP just for accounting assistance specifically for the SSBCI program, which is the State Small Business Credit Initiative. So sorry about that. And I'll hand it over to Rita to introduce herself, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Thank you. My name is Rita Karina Veleta. I am a JEDI coordinator along with Shawnee in the JEDI office for Economic Development Department. I'm happy to be here today and to talk a little bit more about this RFP. There we go.
Great. So first off, we're going to talk a little bit about what is the State Small Business Credit Initiative 2.0 Technical Assistance Program. And this is a program that was released by U.S. Treasury on the federal level to several states. All states across the country were eligible to participate, as well as tribal communities. New Mexico did elect to submit an application, so our agency is responsible kind of for overseeing the SSBCI program in terms of our different contractors that we're working with to administer other pieces of the program. And specific to the technical assistance portion of the program, this is a 5-year program that's going to look at empowering small businesses with increasing access to capital. So funds provided under this program are to help provide legal, accounting, and financial advisory services to small businesses. And that's going to be for eligible businesses who are very small businesses, VSB, and socially economically disadvantaged businesses, which we will refer to as SETI. So the goal, again, of just this program is to increase access to capital for small businesses across New Mexico and provide needed technical assistance, because what we saw through the pandemic was that small businesses were not necessarily ready or equitably ready to compete for the funding programs that came out of things like EIDL and PPP. Those are like the emergency disaster assistance and COVID assistance funds that came for small businesses. So this funding is specifically around supporting small businesses to overcome those hurdles that we saw in the areas of legal, financial, and accounting, and get businesses up to speed and able to participate with some of our other bigger businesses.
And so who is eligible to apply for this RFP? It would be all of those entrepreneurial support providers or those organizations who can demonstrate that they have the experience and the expertise in providing accounting technical assistance to entrepreneurs or anyone who has a business. We're going to get into more detail into what that means and what topics should be covered within this area later in the presentation. Also, eligible technical assistance providers who serve these beneficiaries known as very small businesses and socially and economically disadvantaged individuals who own businesses. And if you have already had a little bit of time to look through the RFP before today's webinar, you could see some of those definitions. But if you haven't, here's a short little snippet of what those definitions look like. Treasury, like Shawnee mentioned before, created this TA program with the goal of ultimately benefiting very small businesses with fewer than 10 employees, which does include contractors and sole proprietors. And then the other group of business owners that this grant aims to support are businesses that are owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. This does include underserved communities and geographic communities that have been systemically denied a full opportunity to participate in aspects of economic and social and civic life as they define it. And as I mentioned, you can find the full definition along with examples of what those communities are, and what Treasury considers to be SETI owned in the RFP document, which we will be linking towards the end of the presentation. And then one thing I did want to mention is that businesses that are seeking this technical assistance can self-certified as VSB or SETI owned. Shawnee?
Thank you, Lisa. Sorry, I keep getting the Zoom opened on my. Okay, so for the technical assistance advisory services for accounting, what Treasury has specified is that this is going to include the following that's listed on the screen, but it doesn't have to be limited to that. So the workshops that we're asking for to be provided through the RFP and the one-to-one assistance are going to be around helping small businesses and eligible businesses with preparing audits, financial statements, and business records. And it also includes digitizing financial records and providing advisory services or training regarding accounting practices, record keeping, bookkeeping, and accounting software. So those are some of the main topics that Treasury listed as a requirement of the program to be offered. But this is kind of the bare minimum. So if there's other needs that providers have seen and that businesses are coming forward with, whoever is administering this technical assistance accounting program will be free to be able to also make workshops in those other areas as well. So this is kind of including but not limited to list.
And I would like to highlight some of the program expectations. Every program, I mean, this award type, sorry, I'm still thinking of the whole RFP, but this award type requires a minimum of 12 training sessions. And these sessions are to be completed within the contract time, which is going to be, I believe, 12 months. There is a language requirement attached to the award in efforts to promote language access and to support those entrepreneurs in the state where Spanish is the primary language. And then a part of the technical assistance instruction is required to be offered in Spanish without the use of interpretation or translation. So let's say if it was a class on accounting that is being led by a CPA, it should be a CPA that could fully give that class in Spanish, no interpreter. Part of the funds should be used to provide 12 hours of one-to-one assistance per training session offered. It would be a total of a minimum of 144 hours of paid one-to-one assistance for entrepreneurs to work with an expert in the topics that Shawnee outlined in the previous slide. And by the end of the contract, a total of 80 eligible beneficiaries should be assisted for this award. Of course, more is better, but that is the minimum. And there is a requirement for training sessions and one-to-one assistance to be provided by certified professionals or experts in this topic. And it can be subcontracted, but that subcontracting would be up to you. They wouldn't work through us. That would all be up to you. And one more thing I want to mention is that there also must be a planned timeline for when each training will be held once the award is made. We will be signing off on that because we want to make sure that those trainings don't overlap with the other awards that are being given out, because they're also holding 12 trainings. So we kind of want to make sure that they don't interfere with each other's scheduling. And then we do have our amazing contractor economic impact catalyst, who has built a tool that we are going to be using for tracking and reporting, and that is mandatory. And then this breakdown of all of these expectations, you can kind of see a sample later in the presentation as well as in the RFP. And then on reporting, the tool that our contractor EIC has built allows for the proper reporting that Treasury is requiring from us. And so if you are selected, you will be required to use this tool that we will provide, and you will track all interactions with business owners. And we do understand that you might use your own tools, maybe to track your interactions with any type of clients or constituents that you already work with. But we do have the ability through this tool to download the data and incorporate it into other forms of software such as Center IC, Salesforce. We can download it into an Excel spreadsheet and other forms. And our contractor will be working with you after the award is made to make this happen if you're awarded. And then Sean is gonna tell us a little bit more about what funding is available for this award.
Thanks, Rita. So for this RFP, we did not put a price directly in the document, but that's the importance of this pre-proposal conference for those of you who are tuning in now and might watch the recording later on. There is a ceiling that's been allocated for the award because we did 4 different awards, and we'll talk a little bit about the 3 awards that we have already kind of ushered through the process and are offering technical assistance now. But what we're looking at is a ceiling of $117,273 per award, and that can be renewed up to 2 additional years if the contract and work is performed satisfactorily at the end of that contract date. So we'll get into a price breakdown a little bit later on how these funds can be used, but when you're making your cost proposal for the RFP, we ask that you keep this number, $117,273 in mind for each of those 12 workshops and one-to-one support. So this is the breakdown, and this is a sample breakdown of how we projected that funds could be used for a 12-month period. So the $117,273 over the 12 months is $9,772. And the way that we broke this down was showing that you could be using it for bringing in a qualified professional to teach that workshop, and then additional funding used for these one-to-one assistance hours. I don't know exactly what rate we used, but so this is just an example number. So if a professional CPA or accountant charges about $150 to anywhere from $150 to $300 an hour, this could be that money that's used to assist the minimum of 12 businesses or 12 to one-to-one hours that's offered after that workshop occurs. So there's also money available for travel expenses, bringing in staff, space rental, etc. But this is just an example. We don't necessarily know how your expenses will look as a accounting technical assistance provider, but this is something that you could use to guide yourself. And something I also want to include about that $117,273 is that it will need to include any applicable gross receipts tax and for the state. So that number will also need to be kind of accounted for in your cost proposal, which it will break down. If you look at the RFP in the appendices sections, there is a sample cost table. It does ask you to include GRT because the full award would include those funds.
And then next, we have a video that demonstrates a little bit of how to use our portal to apply. This application does look a little bit different than last time. We have kind of moved into more PDF uploads of everything. So it should be pretty clear on the application portal. So do we want to show the video or do we want to open up the portal, Shani?
Good point. Let's just go ahead and open up the portal and talk a little bit
Okay.
about it.
Yeah, I can do that real quick. Got it right here. Just bear with me 1 second.
And then if there are any questions in the interim, there is a Q&A function as part of the Zoom. So if you do have questions, please go ahead and drop those in the chat, and we'll talk a little bit about RFP due process, acknowledgement of receipt, and questions towards the end.
Yes, and so this link you'll be able to find on our public notices page on the EDD website. We're gonna have that link here coming up on the next slide, along with a QR code that you can scan. We'll send it up in the follow-up email. You could find it on all of our social media. So you can find it in a lot of different places, but this is where you would go to fill out your, put in your proposal. The proposal submissions, excuse me, are due July 19, 2024. So we're giving about a month from when we launched it on Monday for you to turn in your proposal. And so I guess the most important part of this is to please open up and read this full the full RFP document before you start submitting any PDFs, because this is where you'll find everything that is important to be submitted and that we will consider when scoring your proposal. All of the documents and appendices are also important. Some of them you're going to have to use to upload, others are for you to reference. And some parts are going to have you filling out either information on here, and other parts of it, like our mandatory specifications, you're going to have to type out in a document, turn it into a PDF, and then upload that file into this Dropbox. But if you do have any issues filling this out, we will be leaving an email also at the end that you could reach out to with any questions that you can also see right here. This is helpdesk@startupspace.app. They cannot answer any questions about the RFP, but they can answer any technical questions if you're having trouble uploading a PDF, or if you're having trouble submitting your application. You can email them with anything and they will help you submitting your application. Is there anything you want to add, Shani, with the portal?
Not on the portal itself. I did want to make sure sometimes that box at the very top will pop up asking for name and email. I'm not seeing it on my end when I click, but just in case, if you're having any submission issues and it's telling you that you missed a couple boxes, it might be those boxes at the top. So just keep an eye out for those.
Okay. Cool. And like I said, if you do have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and also drop that email of helpdesk@startupspace.app because they can help you with technical questions, and then we'll get into how to submit questions on the actual RFP here in just a second.
Great. And this, again, is just the link for the online portal, as well as a QR code that will take you to the RFP portal application. We are trying this to have all the information submitted online, as opposed to doing everything kind of via email, and trying to kind of formalize a process for RFPs. So that's why we're using this online portal, but it will match the layout that is asked for within the RFP document itself. So again, just referencing, please make sure you read through the RFP before applying fully. There's a lot of information in there around reporting requirements, due diligence that will be expected, and kind of dates, timelines, all that important stuff is going to be right in the RFP. So we just want to make sure that you're familiar with that document. Right now, the SSBCI Technical Assistance Program is live for a few different areas of technical assistance, except for accounting. So that is why the accounting RFP is out now. For our other parts of technical assistance, we are working with UNM Anderson that will be providing technical assistance and workshops on venture capital and fund manager support in the venture capital kind of world and ecosystem. So they will be offering legal, financial, and accounting assistance specifically as it relates to venture capital businesses and fund managers. West, shown in the middle with that turquoise logo, is offering our financial advisory support technical assistance. So they are responsible for that piece. And then Hatchform is doing legal technical assistance. So they will be providing that workshop and one-to-one assistance for the legal technical assistance areas. Those are our 3 providers right now, and the program is live. The only thing I did not do was put a link in there so that folks who might know businesses who could benefit from other services before they get the accounting. It's just our website, edd.newmexico.gov/TA intake. But that program is live now. We just released a press release on it on Monday, and we'll be kind of doing marketing and push around that program. So whoever is selected for the accounting assistance portion of this program will be added to our partners. And we just wanted to let you all know that that program is live right now. So we do have schedules of workshops and eligibility for businesses to sign up for TA right now. And a little bit more about our other SSBCI programs. So this is kind of a giant program that is about 74.5 million over the next, it's kind of like a 10-year program. This is the 2nd iteration. So these are the other programs that EDD is also helping administer or oversee. We have our collateral support program, which we call our collateral assistance program, or CAP. And that fund is specifically working with lenders and financial institutions to offer cash deposit support in the form of collateral for businesses who might not be eligible to receive loans due to a collateral shortfall. And then we are also working with the New Mexico Finance Authority, who is administering venture capital funds, 2 bigger funds that will be delivering funding and investments to smaller venture capital interested businesses. So those are the other 2 programs, and sooner or later, the technical assistance program will also be listed on the Treasury SSBCI programs website. So you'll be able to see that additional allocation. If I'm recalling correctly by memory, I think for the technical assistance allocation for this program, I believe it's 1.7 million over the 5 years, and they release it in tranches in different kind of groups. So they release 1/3 of that funding at a time, which is why you see some of the numbers that you do around how much funding is allocated for each of these programs, because we have to get that money out of the door, for lack of a better term, in order to unlock those next tranches of funding. So right now for the technical assistance program, we still are only working with our first tranche. So this is the biggie. Applications are going to be due at 5 p.m. on July 19th next month. I'm the procurement lead and procurement manager for this RFP. So if you have any questions or concerns, those will have to come directly to me. As Letha mentioned earlier, they cannot go to Economic Impact Catalyst if they are about the contents of the RFP. And what I'd like to maybe talk about a little bit, Letha, if you can maybe pull up the sequence of events for the RFP. There's a couple things when it comes to submitting your application, when it comes to submitting questions, and it comes to getting on the list so that you can get the list of questions that people might answer. There is a formal way to document asking questions, and it has to be done in writing via email, and the subject needs to match the RFP number to the best of your ability. So all questions have to be submitted to me in writing via email. You can't call me on the phone to talk about it. We've got to do it in writing because I have to be able to document any questions up through the question deadline, which is listed in the RFP. So I'll only be able to take questions up into a certain date. And we'll pull up the calendar for you to be able to see that, once Rita has that ready. And there is also an important date that is the acknowledgement of receipt form. So if you are interested in applying for this RFP, you have to submit an acknowledgement of receipt by July 1, which is, what is that, next Monday? Oh, good. Next Monday. And we'll get down here, page 7.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Make sure you kind of spend some time looking at this RFP. Definitely get familiar with this sequence of events. So today's the pre-proposal conference, 12:30 Mountain Standard, or potentially Mountain Time today. The acknowledgement of receipt form will be due by Monday, end of day, or 11:59 p.m. Can't accept it after that. This acknowledgement of receipt form will get you and your organization on the list for receiving the responses to all written questions that are submitted on the RFP. If you do not submit this acknowledgement of receipt, I will only be able to answer your questions directly up into the deadline, but you will not receive the list of all of everyone's questions who is applying. So I encourage you to get familiar with the dates and then get your acknowledgement of receipts in if you think that offering this workshop assistance and training and then providing one-to-one assistance is well within your capacity and the capacity of others that you can work with. We will provide responses to those questions by July 12th, and then the deadline for those proposals is going to be July 19th at 5 p.m. And then you've got some other dates in there. So that's a little bit about the timeline. Again, when you go through the application portal, you might not see all of this information, which is why it's really critical that you get familiar with the RFP document itself. And we can jump back over to the slides. And then I wanted to add, this is in the RFP. And I don't know if it's mentioned in the application, but because this is a federal grant, whoever is selected will have to have an active SAMS and or DUNS number that is done through SAMS.gov. So that's kind of like there's a UEI identification number, UEI, a DUNS number, DUNS, and SAMS, SAMS number that you can get through SAMS.gov to get registered if you don't have that already, or consider finding a partner to work on your application with who has that number, who would be willing to work on you with that, because that will be another requirement for whoever the selected awardee is that we will have to have that federal information as well. So that's kind of an overview of the RFP. Again, we are administering that program live right now with our other 3 selected providers. So we're really excited to get some accounting folks in so we can expand that assistance to include accounting as well. We know that a lot of business owners are doing really amazing things, but when it comes to maybe the number sides of things, that's the part that gives them a headache. It's the part where they gotta outsource and find an accountant. And we're hopeful that this program can match accountants who are looking to do this work and support small businesses in their kind of development and practice, but maybe can't, of course, do that work pro bono because we are all working out here trying to figure it out. So we're hopeful that this contract can really assist small businesses and accounting providers who are working with New Mexico small business. So with that, I think we will open it up for questions, and we'll do that, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll get this on our YouTube as soon as we are able. Do we have any questions?
I don't see anything right now.
Neither do I. So what we can do is my email address is shown on the screen. So if you do have questions, what I would say is to please send me an email with the RFP number in the subject line. SSBCI Accounting Technical Assistance, and if you do have any questions, be sure to get them in before the deadline. And if not,
RFP number.
RFP number SSBCI Accounting Technical Assistance. Happy to get responses into folks. So just again, want to make sure that folks are ready to submit that acknowledgement of receipt by July 1st. And do any questions due by, I lost the date already because of the number of RFPs we've ran this year. But the deadline for questions will be on July 9th. So we've given a little bit of time in between for you all, but if there's no questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And we're looking forward to getting your applications and getting some folks in who can provide accounting support to our New Mexico small businesses. Thank you so much for being here.